All right, picture this. You're dropped in the middle of nowhere with a complete stranger. Your only job? Survive. And the prize? Well, it's a briefcase packed with cash, literally falling out of the sky every single day. The craziest part? There's no limit. The longer you last, the more you make. And we're not talking a small amount of cash, sure. We're talking $10,000, delivered every 24 hours you manage to stick it out. The pressure is absolutely immense, but man, so is that reward.
So let me ask you, how long do you think you could last? It's a fascinating question, right? And today, we're going to dive into the story of two guys who tried to answer it. And they were aiming for the big bucks. Millions.
So let's meet our contestants, Haas and Grizz. Now, these two had never, ever met before this whole thing started. They were total strangers. And get this, their plan wasn't just to last a few weeks. Oh no, they were aiming for a full year out there. The rules of the game? Deceptively simple. You survive together, you get paid. But there was a massive catch. Just one flare gun. If either one of them decided to fire it, the game was over. For both of them. So you see, this was never just about surviving the wild. It was a test of trust, a test of their partnership. And, as you can probably guess, those first few days were a brutal reality check. The clock was ticking. They had to figure out fire, find water, and build some kind of shelter to survive the freezing cold nights. And to make matters worse, their starting supplies? Only enough for 5 days. It's honestly shocking how quickly things went south. I mean, look at this timeline. They go from setting up camp to literally starving in just 9 days. By day 9, all their food was gone. And I mean, gone. They were eating leaves, just to put something, anything in their stomachs. And this is where the mind games begin. Hasi says this thing, Grizz likes to call it a fast, which sounds so much nicer than starving. Think about that. They weren't starving, they were fasting. It's a small change in words, but it's a huge mental shift. It was their way of trying to stay in control when everything was falling apart. Okay, so they're surviving, just barely. But the challenge is about to change in a big way. It's not just man versus wild anymore. Now, it's man versus temptation. Their greed, their resolve, everything was about to be put to the test. So on day 10, a helicopter shows up out of nowhere. It's a lifeline. 10 full days of food, spices, real fishing gear. But it came with a price tag, a jaw-dropping $50,000. I mean, for two guys who were literally starving, was it even a choice? Of course not. They took the deal. That's 5 whole days of prize money gone, just for the chance to stay in the game. All right, fast forward another 10 days, and here comes another temptation. They've been shivering themselves to sleep every single night, and now they're offered top-of-the-line sleeping bags. But check out this pricing. It's a psychological test. 1 bag for 10 grand, or 2 bags for a whopping 50 grand. It's an agonizing choice, and what do? Something nobody expected. They said no to both. They chose to keep freezing together to save the money. And then, as if that wasn't enough, comes the wilderness store. It's like a dollar store where everything costs $10,000. Firewood, a shovel, better bedding, you name it, 10 grand. And once again, in what is just an unbelievable display of willpower, they bought nothing, not a single thing. They walked away, betting on themselves. But that kind of grit, it takes a toll. That self-reliance comes at a steep price. You know, weeks start to blur into months. The isolation, the hunger, the cold, the sheer mental grind of it all started to wear them down. And that incredible bond they had built, it was starting to fray. Big time. And this quote from Hasi, man, it just hits you right in the gut. He says, "At this point, I've spent more time in the wilderness than I have with my newborn son." That's when you realize this isn't about the money anymore. It's about what he's losing back home. That kind of sacrifice, it was becoming just too much to bear. You just knew it had to happen eventually, right? After all those weeks of being a perfect team, the pressure cooker just exploded. All the sleepless nights, the constant stress, it finally boiled over. And it started with something so small, a stupid argument about fishing lines. And that's when Grizz says it. "You know what? You shut your mouth when you're talking to me." Oof. This wasn't friendly ribbing. This was raw, unfiltered anger. All that frustration that had been bubbling under the surface for weeks, it was finally out. And it pushed their friendship right to the edge. But you know what they say, Once you hit rock bottom, the only way to go is up. And this is where their story takes a turn. This final part of their journey, it's not about the prize money. It's about figuring out what really, truly matters. Hasse was just broken. He was pushed so far that he actually steals the flare gun. In his mind, that was it. That was his escape hatch. It was his ticket to stop being the survival guy and just go home to his family and be a dad again.
And this is the pivot point of the whole story. Grez sees his friend completely falling apart, and he has a choice to make. Does he push for more cash, or does he become the person his friend needs him to be right now, a brother?
And in that moment, Grizz chose his friend. He let go of the money, the year-long goal, all of it. He saw Haas's pain and just said, "Brothers don't let each other down. I'm sorry that it's taken so long." I mean, what an incredible, selfless moment.
And so, Grizz hands the flare gun to Haas. The decision was made, and together they fired it. They ended the challenge, but they did it on their terms.
So after all that, what's the final score? An absolutely unbelievable 74 days survived. They walked away with $670,000 to split. But you know what? The real prize, the thing they truly won, wasn't the money. It was the bond they forged out there, a true friendship.
And that just leaves us with one final question to think about. They went into this whole thing hoping to become millionaires, but when it came down to it, they chose friendship over fortune. So it makes you wonder, in a game that pushes you to the absolute edge, what does it really mean to win?